everybody. I've got Matt Elwell with me, Matthew Elwell, the author of Open with a Close, co-founder of Elite Closing Academy. Matt's been doing amazing stuff with his book to gain more leads so that he and his team are able to fill events and sell the high value stuff they've got to their perfect audience. And so I've got Matt on because I'd like to ask him a little bit about his process, share some of his skills in terms of how he uses his book to sell, and obviously learn some of the language patterns, some of the cool stuff. Hopefully I can pick Matt's brains on some of the things he does that makes the magic happen. So hi Matt, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Yeah, cool, mate. Firstly, thanks very much for having me on. And also, thank you so much for the amazing service you gave us to get us over the line. We're talking about book 2, which I'm already into. But yeah, thanks for all your hard work, mate. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So Matt, one of the things I've seen going on is your book is everywhere and people are downloading it. And to me, that's the coolest possible thing that could be happening. People are getting your book, asking for a copy, and then, and this is what I'm interested in knowing, how well is that working for you in terms of sales and conversion and filling rooms?
Yeah, very, very good question. I think just for a bit of context, if I can, my business started 2 years ago. And during that 2 years, I've sort of gone from nothing to, over 7 figures in total sales in the 2 years. So, it's grown really quickly. And when I first started writing the book, interestingly enough, it was about 18 months ago, nearly 2 years ago. And the book was actually kind of stuff that I was doing before this business. So I used to have a family business in the retail sector, and my brother bought me out in 2017 after 16 years, and I had a few months off. I was in transition. Many of the people listening to this will probably know what that feels like. So I started to actually write the book just a few months into my new life, if that makes sense. Now, as I said, I wrote this book so that salespeople could literally have it as a tool. And that was my motivation for initially writing it. So it's content rich in terms of, like, I didn't write it to be a lead magnet or to be, a part of a funnel or anything like that. I just wrote the book, with my experiences, based on my passion actually for changing the way the world sells. I don't like the thought of hard selling. I've never enjoyed the persuasive American pushy salesy stuff. That's not how I roll. I believe more in a sort of human-to-human interaction, consultational sales, really, asking great questions, understanding, sharing information. That's my philosophy. And, I feel that my big purpose in life, I was born to share this message and change the way the world sells and closes, particularly to entrepreneurs that have great intention to serve the end user, and then sometimes get sort of lost, or maybe the sales process and the sales bit lets them down a little bit, and they probably don't get the results they should, which was us for a little bit many years ago, and that's where this all started. So that was my motivation, Joe. Sorry to speak so much. I just think it gives context to.
Please don't apologize. I love that. So I'll just do a little bit of a kind of a backtrack myself. When I first came across you, I saw you speaking at an event about what you do and how passionate you were speaking. And I kind of cyber stalked you a bit and saw you were writing a book. And so I reached out to you. I'm like, you're writing a book. Well, I want to see the book. And interestingly, just seeing that first draft, that kind of rough draft, I'm like, I want to join the program. I'm in, like, just from seeing that. Because I'm like, if that's what you're giving away in the book, this is going to be like, this is stuff, and exactly where you're coming from. About
you then actually came to the two. I used to do a 3-day monthly training there.
Yeah.
But it used to be a 2-day. It started as a 1-day, then a 2. You actually came to the 2-day, and I remember you doodling and scribbling amazing little things.
Yeah, and to me, it was like, I loved it, and I saw the book, and like, because I know a bit about your system now. I'm a client of yours now. One of the things that really struck me was this idea of serving and selling, and the serving being really, really crucial to that. And that's where your book was coming from. And so I really, like, thanks for sharing that. That's what you were saying. You wrote this as a service for your customers to give them a tool and a way of seeing and understanding what you're giving them. That was your first goal, I think, before even considering how
Well,
you could use it
it was
tactically.
the only goal at the time
Yeah,
because I didn't have staff, I didn't have a marketing department, I didn't have any of that. It was just me as a consultant working within businesses, kind of on a day rate or little contract.
yeah,
It's just me sharing my information. So, and I think what's interesting, by the way, Joe, and you know this as being part, in my academy now, but I genuinely believe that the most unconditional serving a business owner, entrepreneur, expert, author, speaker, trainer, investor, business, the unconditional serving is selling congruently by having a system and a process in line with your DNA as a human. I don't want to talk about controversial. I don't think this is controversial. I have travelled on Virgin Airways, and I believe that the service. I believe the service is so good because the management are human centered, and that's. I believe all business owners should be leaders, should be closers, and I believe that all business owners should create a sales process in their own image. So, how do you like to be sold to? What is your purposefulness, your professionalism, your persistency, and build that in. Basically, you should be able to be closed by yourself every time, and the customer journey should be epic. The journey that you would want to go through. What do you like when something goes wrong? How good are you at getting back to people? Like all of that stuff, I believe is unconditional serving by selling and closing those that need you congruently. I believe that is serving sales done well. Is serving closing a deal where the person needs your product or service, solves a problem, gets a better result than they're getting now. That is serving.
yeah. No, that's lovely. That to me is brilliant, and that's what, as you know from my approach, it was like when we started working together. And I'm still doing it. I serve so much. I sometimes forget to close, and that's kind of missing the serve
Well,
because
that's the skill, isn't it? It's to it's to serve, sell, and close in a circle.
yeah. And that to me, that was the magic. Then it's like I can still be myself. I can still serve unconditionally, because the condition is I'm going to help you get the outcome you want, like the outcome you need. And I know, because I believe fully in what Rethink Press does, we can do that, and our promise
Well,
is clear.
let me be an advocate for you. The body of work in my head, the hardest bit for me, and by the way, I study human beings, study personalities, I study language, body language. My personality profile is influenced. I'm a people person, totally centered around humans. And to get that into an actual thing that people can read and understand, I didn't have that skill set. I had the information, I got the passion, I got the words, but I did not have. And I've got to say, this week I've done an interview in Canada. I've done interviews in New York. I've done interviews in California, all over Europe. I've got people buying this book all over the globe now, and every single last one of them, literally, the comments say, "What a lovely read! It's so beautifully put together," and none of that has got anything to do with me. That's all your bit. And no, but I mean, the power of your phrase, books build businesses, is incredible. So let me give you some numbers. So my marketing team, it's headed up by a gentleman called Adam Ashburn, who you personally know,
Yeah,
and my business partner, Nick James, co-founder of the Elite Closing Academy and also founder of Expert Empires, dwells in their specialist areas in marketing, creating leads, that kind of stuff. And the job that, so what we said is, we said, first and foremost, look, we've written this as a tool. We know it's valuable. So firstly, the question they asked me, which I thought was great, the marketing team, and for anybody watching this, just listen to this question from my marketing team. It's like, Matt, before we even think about us and sales, what additional value could you possibly give somebody that wanted to buy or read this book? And just the power of that question, being surrounded by humans with that psychology, that mentality, that culture of language, is great. And I was like, look, well, firstly, what I could do is I could actually break the book down as Joe and his team have done, and I could do a video for each chapter. So there's 19 chapters, and I've done 19 associated videos upstairs in my studio. Chapter number 3 is about the ancient brain. Let me give you a reason why I put it in there. Let me tell you a bit more about it. Let me tell you why it's important to know this information for you to get better results. And so that's the first thing. We added some value. And what the team have done brilliantly is when you actually download the book now, which currently it's free. And by the way, I'm quite happy to give you, anybody listening to this, the link. You have to cover post and package, a couple of quid, 2 or 3 quid. But what you get is you get a PDF version of the book. You get 19 videos, all channels, every email, every sequence, everything you get. Also leads you to my free community. So lots of people are joining the Elite Closing Academy Facebook group. So I think we've had probably 300 or 400 join.
Wow.
Who they're qualified because they're buying a book about closing. They want to know more, which is good. And obviously I get to message and serve them in that community, which is great. Also, you have to put your details in. So it's an exchange. It's a two-way street. It's don't just give us your email address. We also ask you your phone number. And by the way, if people don't want to give their phone number, it's fine. But we prefer to have phone number because we believe in human-to-human interaction as well as marketing online. And generally, 99% of people give all that information because we make it totally transparent. We say, hey, this book is not the end of the journey. This is a stepping stone towards further trainings and to our 12-month academy where we get life-changing results, only if you want to be on that journey. So, but please expect my team to give you a call, to check you've got it, and to ask you about our training and how else we can hold your hand along the journey to being an elite closer or not. We're good with both. But the truth is what we're not good with is we're not good with just people that want to consume, and never move through the channels and move through the gears. Yeah. But this isn't like you have to buy or anything, but what it means is we want there to be a clear customer journey for people so that they get the ultimate result.
And you spell that out in advance because, this comes back to your philosophy to selling, which is about being completely transparent and open about what the conversation is about. And no kind of often you say like persuasion and influence, that's not the aim of the game at all. It's actually very logical next steps, making sure there's a need. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like how have you framed the conversation? Did you create a script and a follow-up for your team?
Yeah. So I think just on that, look, I believe that being persuasive and influencing is natural. I think we all naturally persuade and influence those around us. We must. Look, why do we put clothes on? If there was no natural persuasion, we'd just be walking around as we are, whatever. But yeah, no, I think that's quite natural. And I think when it's natural, it's fine. I think when there's a smoke and mirrors process, things like, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but means they are. Yeah. It's just a quick call. Well, it's not a quick call because you're just selling to it. Just say, hey, the reason for the call is I've got something I want to sell you. Yeah. Just tell me. We're all busy, so just tell me. State your intention. Humans, when you state your intention and have purposefulness and transparency, people love you for it. And that's what Open with the Close is. That's the ethos. So, yeah, I think to finish the numbers, when we launched this book, we just initially, in the first weekend, before we got a funnel in place and everything else, we just pushed it out there. Joe, I think you helped us. And we had a Kindle version and then the Amazon hard copy, which I think was 11 or 12 quid initially. And all we did was just push that to my social. So my Facebook, any groups I was in, I was like, hey, I've written a book. It's all about sales and closing. You can go and get it here, kind of thing. And that was incredible because I think we did something like 300 odd from my social media just with a simple hey.
Yeah, it was just natural, no ads or anything, just a straight post.
And that was lovely. But I think, look, just for those listening to this, if that's a good result, I don't know how that compares, but I'm from a small village in the south of Birmingham called Hollywood. It's a little leafy hamlet, and I've been there all my life. I've run a family business all my life, so I'm a social butterfly as well. So I'm a member of local golf clubs and football clubs, and my kids go to the local riding schools. So we're well known, in our little village. And I think what was lovely is people had been following my journey online, leaving the family business in the village and becoming an international speaker and all that kind of stuff. And so there's been a bit of interest, I think, if I'm being, with as much humility. I don't mean that to sound wrong. I think, but people were watching my journey, I think.
Yeah.
So that was humbling. I didn't expect 300 or 400 downloads. And like, I'm in a local village, community. It's called The Only Way is Hollywood and Whittle. And there's like, I don't know, 7,000 or 8,000 people in there. And the lady who runs it, she was like, "Oh, Matt, I've seen," and she posted it in there. And there were local people going, "I'll buy a copy of the book." And all that was lovely. That was like really humbling. So that was the first bit. But then the team sort of got the funnel together and all the rest of it and the additional value. And I think we've now got about 1,100, we've sold 1,100 copies through the funnel.
And what we're talking only a few months, aren't we, Matt? I mean, we haven't necessarily positioned when the book came live.
April. Yeah. April.
That's really good.
So we've now had 1,100 people in addition to the 350, I think it was, that downloaded. And I think I might be right in saying, Joe, I can't remember, but I think around about 100 actually spent 11 or 12 quid.
Yeah.
And then 300 bought the Kindle version.
Yeah.
So I think we're well into sort of 14, 15, 1,600 copies. Somebody will have the data. Yeah. I don't know exactly what it is, but we're certainly around about the 1,500 mark. And more importantly, 1,100 of those are, business owners, entrepreneurs, that are interested in further trainings, and
they've qualified themselves, haven't they? They've come towards you.
Yeah, and the next step on the journey, once they've sort of had the book, is we also created a little upsell from the book, which is 6 scripts for like 20 quid.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people know when they buy the book, there's also a little, hey, if you like the book, you're going to love these scripts that you can use.
Yeah.
I don't know what the upsell is. I've no idea. I think it's about 11 quid or something. And that's going really well. So people have taken.
I've got those scripts because I'm lucky enough to be in the Elite Closing Academy. You gave them to us anyway. They're brilliant scripts.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And so that's good because, look, ultimately, success breeds success. So if people read the book and use the scripts to start getting a few sales, that's cool. The big thing is, the truth is, where we get life-changing results is at my 3-day training and then into the academy. So that's the full journey. So one thing it has done, I think this is really interesting as being a total transparent share. I'm in the office today and next door is the sales team. You may have seen in the academy this morning, I've been live on calls myself with the team. And here's the reason why. Before we had the book, our 3-day training sales were effortless. We were full every month. Since we've had the book, COVID and the book, the 3-day sales trainings have dropped a little bit. We still get loads of people on it, but just not quite as many. And we're getting, I haven't read the book yet. Now, that is really interesting because I'm going, hang on a minute, I'm giving you a free tool, and then it's actually stopping you from what you need and what my 3-day training, like this thing in my hand is probably 100th of what I cover in the training. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, 50th or I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's, this is just, by the way, this is one of 15 things that I cover in the 3-day training.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, right. Come in.
You all right?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, hello, Jack.
How you doing, Joe?
Jack there. I'm good, thanks.
The lads of the team have been, this is our head of sales, Jack. They're very kindly bought me a bit of lunch. So, so, I mean, in total service to people, look, I'm glad you've got a book, and that's not the reason to not consider my 3-day training. In fact, whether you've read it or not doesn't really matter. And actually, people cannot progress on my journey unless they do my training, because what I teach is the opposite to pretty much what's out there.
Yeah.
If you want to do the 12-month training, the mentorship, you have to do the 3-day training. So,
and how do you handle that? That sounds like a stall to me. Like that's a kind of a.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So have you figured out a way that you handle that?
Yeah,
Is it pretty much what you said?
absolutely, yeah. So this morning we've spent some time with the team going, so look, how do we stay in service and not go into get energy? Because look, somebody spent a couple of quid on a book and they want to read it, that's perfectly legitimate, perfectly fine, you know. So how do we go about it? So basically we've just put together, I think it's about framing that, look, you're on the first step of a 3-step journey. So the call's kind of gone something like, firstly, I want to thank you so much for downloading Open with a Close book. The next question, your step one of 3 steps, the next question actually is to hold your hand and say, like, my job is to find out what's next. How do we help you next? Or not at all, you know, but my job is to say, well, book or not, that there are other steps on this journey. So what do you need from us right now so that we can continue to help you, or not at all? And that's kind of the, you know, the basis of the call.
Yeah, and that's what
And
you
it's
think.
gone really well.
I
To
will
that,
say, by the way, because you said like this, the book, it does probably contribute just like it constitute 1/15 of what you actually deliver through the whole journey with
yeah,
you, but it's still complete. And I just want to make that point really clear. It's a complete solution, end to end. You come away with value. You're not left thinking,
yeah.
I can't
Thank
use
you.
this.
Well, we took, obviously, you know, to be an elite closer, you've got to have more than just one script. I mean, this is just one script out of 27 that I've got, which is the Open with a Close. This is how to close a hot qualified lead. So somebody that's had a proposal, somebody that, you know, you're talking to the decision maker, you've had conversations with them, you know, they've been on the journey. It's just to get the deal done, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. And that's just a tiny bit of what we teach. But as you say, it's comprehensive from start to finish. I teach a 12-point system, and that's what the book is. There's some context in the book as well, obviously, and then a deep dive of how you do.
That's super. So you're getting those results. Have you, in terms of your 3-day, because like just to kind of put context around what happened. So the 3 days is it came out of a 2-day where you thought, actually we need that extra day to deliver all the value that you want, and you kind of learned from that.
It was mainly to give people to practice a bit more, because cramming, you know, obviously the way I teach is often it's the opposite of what people have been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, being open and real again from a place of love and humility is that it's not what they were doing before is not really quite getting them to where they want to go.
Yeah.
So they have to come along and challenge a lot of thought patterns and that kind of stuff. So giving them that additional day was a value add more than anything else, because I felt it was just a bit crammed.
Yeah.
And the other thing being open and real, I don't know your audience, but, you know, that 3rd day as well gives my team and I a little bit more chance for those that do want to, you know, consider the 12 months. It gives us more time. There are some people who can make quick decisions. There are other people who need time. And I think that just gives everybody more time to implement, consider. It's just a win for everybody.
Yeah, and spend more time with you and the team, because like the values that you and Nick espouse, like across both businesses, are really solid. They're really solid. They're I mean, to see the training room like that you get to go to when you're part of the academy, and I know you've got a new training room coming with the 3 foot.
Yeah, we've just doubled the size of it now. Yeah.
The wall is plastered with these values. They're gigantic, and it goes all the way through. So I think just spending time in that environment.
Every room that we're in, we make sure we can see, you know, living your values. Having values is great, but it's living them that's crucial. And
the context about the 3-day was everything was like, you had an amazing campaign going along, everything was working, and then COVID hit, and so live events became a kind of a not quite happening. And things that I saw that you did that I didn't see other like live training companies doing as quickly was to double down on the value. So it's like, you're going to get the online as well, and don't worry, all the live stuff is still going to happen. It was like, it was a double whammy of value. Like, I thought that was really, really interesting that you did that. But going back to, because I'm trying to make this about the book and I've got a kind of an agenda. How have you found the book has been working as a tool for you to help get people in that room and to book on the 3-day?
Yeah, good question. As I say, so it wasn't without 1 or 2 challenges. It's new. But yeah, I think that there's 2 things we've noticed. Number one, that obviously when somebody's consumed this before they come to the training,
Mhm.
They're even more connected. They're even more intrigued. They've got even more information. So that's really noticeable and really exciting. And number two, actually, Jack Duggan, head of sales, and his team are noticing that we're closing more on one call. So we don't advocate trying to serve, sell, and close all on one call, because it's a bit like going on your first date and trying to snog somebody's face off before you've had popcorn. It doesn't feel great,
Yeah.
and it's very pushy, and often it's not in line with our values. And by the way, for the salespeople out there trying to go from cold to sold in one phone call, you've got to stop it, because it's just not good. It's not good. It's not how you build a relationship. But that doesn't mean to say that if it's obvious that you don't close the deal. But I think you've got to have a process. So, but we are noticing that people are more engaged. So you can, Jack has now. I think the data is around about 44 ticket sales from the books so far.
Okay.
And if I'm honest, Joe, that falls well short of our expectations long term.
Yeah.
I would anticipate us converting more than half of what goes through the funnel in the next 16 to 20 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it will be, if I'm being really honest, I think it will be like lava flowing in time.
Yeah, just pick up that momentum.
Yeah, it's valuable to people, and they notice straight away. I've had some comments, without naming names, around the globe. I've had comments such as, and they're out on social, they're not my comments, they're what people say. This is by far more valuable than any book I've ever read, including some of the big sales names, which I won't mention.
Love it. Yeah, and I agree with that, because
it's written as a tool. Yeah,
it's based on actual, this is what works, and I've seen it work. I've seen the demos of Jack and the team doing stuff. As you referred to Adam earlier, I know you align marketing with sales very carefully. The language is all there, and that leads me to say, like, I've got a hunch why you might be closing more sales with one call rather than two. Is that because you talk about the cycle being serve, sell, close? Is actually the book is doing quite a lot of serving remotely without you having to be there delivering it in person.
100%.
And so it's accelerating that early stage of the sales process according to your three logical steps.
100%.
And so that to me is great. So the job, like we say this a lot to authors as well, your book should be selling you. You shouldn't be selling your book.
And I think what I believe, I believe that sales and marketing are like a partnership, a marriage. They're different skills. They're totally different skills. So my wife and I are totally different people, but joined together, when we put our values together, we move in the same direction. And that's we do it differently, but we're moving in the same direction. And that is why it works. And sales and marketing should be the same in my world. And what I love about our philosophy here is we say now at the beginning what the journey is. So nobody's surprised when we say, hey, we've also got a 3-day training. Nobody's surprised at the 3-day training when they go, hey, you've heard me already mention my academy. Here's how it works. Over to you to decide. That's how I believe this should work. And I'll give you an example. One thing that I've been doing to support the team is to go back to my contacts like we're doing now. But this is slightly different, actually, because you've asked me to give value to community, which I was happy to do.
Thank you.
The truth is, if anybody does download this book, and we'll give you the link in a bit, you will then get a follow-up from my team. You will then get a phone call, and the phone call will be very much about, hey, if you enjoyed the book, we've also got a 3-day training. Let's talk about it, kind of thing. And me saying that is transparent. And also being really honest, the 3-day training is not the end. The end is the academy, which is what you're in, Joe. And I mean, you posted the other day to say that you did a deal that you wouldn't have got, which was very valuable to the business. And that's, so I'm talking about it and being transparent because that's the truth. I'm going, why wouldn't you? Where I think people get annoyed is when you then get the, oh, I'm not trying to sell you anything but, and it's like, well, you are trying to sell me something. So either just sell it because I need it or want it, or leave me alone.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, the share that I put in your group was around actually not picking up the phone. So the fact that your team, because I think a lot of, and I'm talking to my audience here, a lot of us are possibly thinking, hoping that the marketing, even if you have a book funnel, will do all the selling for you. So the
Yeah.
book, it's going to do all the sale for you. You'll just be able to count all these sales happening. And actually, by pointing out in advance, we're going to follow up with this, but also actually doing that, you're proactively, you talk about the P's, it's professional, purposeful, and persistent. Like you imbue that into your sales process as well. So I'd say to anybody listening, like if you're going to build a funnel, make sure you've got capacity and an intent to follow up.
Yeah,
And
I
actually
agree
pick
with
up the
that.
phone.
I agree with that. And sorry, I slightly delayed there. I do apologise.
No, good.
One thing that I'd like to share on that is we're really, really good at the phone bit and not so good at the buying online. In fact, at the moment, you still can't buy the 3-day training or invest in the 3-day training online. We're doing that as we speak because I think genuinely there are people reading this and going, right, where do I click? Where do I go? So to do it even better, we're now making sure that there's a sales page. EliteClosingAcademy.com has got the information about the 3-day training, but you can't buy it. So we're changing that as we speak. And then we'll have literally what I call sales SQL and MQL, marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads. There are some people like me who would never, ever, ever buy a training online.
Yeah.
I would never, literally, if you want me to come to one of your trainings and you don't ring me, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
I just do not buy online. I don't. I'm not an online purchaser. I don't buy on Amazon. I go into shops. I use human beings nearly all the time. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, I do buy some things online, but not many things, because I like human interaction and I value service, and it's just me. But yeah, so I think having both is awesome, and as I say, we're really good at the sales bit online, offline.
Yeah.
But we need to improve on the online stuff. So, and interesting, there's a bit of a stat here for people, which is really interesting because I've done some research into this. Around the globe, including Amazon and Apple and all of the above, under 10% of the world's trade is done online without a human being anywhere in the process. Just under 10%. So there's 90% that involves human-to-human interaction at some point. Yeah. So that's why it's a skill that, you
and I would preface this actually, because I said like follow up on the phone. If you're good at it, like the reason I've got the confidence to be able to just pick up the phone now is because I've been trained by you. Before that, there was probably some hesitant, and it probably would have still been better having human to human.
Still is now for me.
But I felt the confidence that I've actually. Sorry, Matt, what were you saying?
I teach it. I've been on the phone this morning. I was like, gee whiz, I better get my acting to gear here,
Yeah, and so it was really good. Like, actually get good at it. So I would advise everybody to definitely and we'll share the links in a minute, Matt. Like, get your book. You've got a YouTube channel as well. You've got the video course that supports the book. So when they order, and by the way, it's a download and an order, isn't it? It's a physical book that will be posted out as well for that post and packing price. So just
it is, and I think people really value actually having the tool. I mean, I don't mind saying I have sat there and read I wrote some of this 2 years ago, and I've actually sat there and gone, blimey, that was helpful. Like seriously, I've forgotten some of the stuff I'd written. But all my team have got one of these, and they'll regularly go, right, I'm on step 6 here, so quick reminder, right, bang, and they use this, to talk. So that's cool. But I think, I think people like to have a physical copy of it. That has definitely come across. But yeah, I think it's for me, it's just critical that the book isn't like the end of something, and I think that's been the challenge to really sort of clarify what the journey is for people. I think that's been that's what we're going through at the minute, and yeah, I think we're coming out the other side of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So I've got, other than the leads and the business that your book's been doing, and I know that wasn't certain. What other things? What else has kind of worked well for you from having the book? You mentioned earlier, and I'm kind of prefacing this because I was interested. You've been on loads of interviews, like New York, Canada, California. Has that been easier as a result of the book? I know people were interested in what you were doing anyway.
Yeah, I think. I mean, look. I've just got my trail of thought back a little bit. Let's be honest, right? I've got a YouTube channel. I've got some LinkedIn stuff. I've got a book. But the point is, let's be really honest. There's no point having all that unless it leads to something.
Mm.
And the truth is, for me to have a successful business, I need to have an effortless way of creating wealth, not just financially, but emotionally as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that enables me then to continue my work around the globe and to serve my bigger purpose. Like the tank needs fuel, and we live in a world where money is critical. So if you're a business owner that's got no cash, you're like a sheep farmer who's got no sheep. And that's just the way it is. And so I suppose it's about getting the balance between serving, selling, and closing, so that the money that's required to fuel the tank and to spread your word, to get better results, to help other people, is effortless and flows. And at the same time, you can deliver massive results for people. So I think getting that balance has been the key bit. And there's no point in my world having a YouTube channel. And by the way, being open and real, I said to the guys the other week, hey, I've got 3,200 people on YouTube. Where's the link to my 3-day training? Oh, we haven't done. So there's little things like this. So now on the YouTube channel, we reference the link to the 3-day training so people can go and see more about it. You know, we reference the book. So it's about having a strategy, online and offline, so that all roads lead to business growth and development.
That's brilliant, and that's really useful, because that's the point of books for us, that we're not just doing books as an end in themselves. They have to lead somewhere, and it's to build the business, it's to sell the author, and it's to sell you. That's really, really helpful.
I just want to do some justice to your other question, if I may. Is that what differences I've had? So having an interview in Canada might be good for your ego at first, but if you don't get anything from it other than to just to give, then I'm not saying that don't give. What I'm trying to say is, if you did that for 2 years, you'd be potless. You wouldn't be able to, just, you know what I mean? Unless you're a multi-millionaire and you're just having a bit of fun and it's a hobby.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe that living is giving, and I love giving, and have to be disciplined to make sure that I'm seeding the 3-day training, that I'm sending traffic to the funnel. Because my job now as the leader is to fill the funnel up so that the team can follow up, and people come to the 3-day, and then they come to the academy and everyone wins. Look, we're looking for a win for you, win for us, win for the universe. You know, I mean, let's face it, as entrepreneurs in the next 10 years, our businesses need to be successful to, pay lots of taxes back to the exchequer and support those that can't, that have needed support through coronavirus. So, we better get bloody good at sales, to be honest.
Yeah, that's super. Thank you so much. So just want to ask you, where can people download the book? I'll share the link wherever this is being shared. So I'll put it in the Facebook Live for now, and wherever else it's shared, I'll put a link to it. But where else can people find you?
Yeah, I think put the link in. I think the best place to, depends on how but the best place to go is to go to eliteclosingacademy.com.
Yep.
There's plenty of information on there. You can join our free communities. You can ask questions about the trainings. There's loads of information in there.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time, Matt, and thanks for sharing so much. It's been really great to have you on. Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.